Welcome to another episode of the Vegan Pulse. I am your host, Nancy Arenas. Today, my guest is Dr. Dan Brook. He is a writer, speaker, poet, photographer, activist, and professor of sociology. He lives and loves in San Francisco, and I would like to introduce him to you. Stick around. Hi, Dan. How are you?
Hi, Nancy. Doing great. Good to be here.
Thank you for joining us on the Vegan Pulse. Can you tell my audience a little bit about yourself and how you kind of got into this path?
Sure. Well, I teach sociology at San Jose State University. I've always been interested in ideas, including oppression on the one side and compassion on the other. And then a few things came together for me in 1983. And one was I had a high school biology teacher who I really admired, super cool guy who was also into Greenpeace and saving the whales, and great teacher. And I found out he was vegetarian. And at the time, I wasn't exactly sure what the difference was between vegetarian and veterinarian. And I even had a friend who said they wanted to be a veterinarian when they get older. I'm like, well, you can start right now. So that was one. And then two was sometime during that year in class, I don't know if it was his class or not, we actually had to dissect fetal pigs. And that was already gross. And then just as a coincidence, my mom, who was still packing lunches for me, sent me with a ham sandwich that day. And it was like, So it wasn't totally enough to make me stop. Oh, I didn't eat the lunch though. I threw that out, but I didn't go veg yet. And then that summer of '83, I was on a teen tour to Israel. And on a kibbutz, the job they assigned me to was the chicken coop. And I went into the chicken coop. My job was to collect eggs. And what I noticed after doing it was some chickens ran closer to me and seemed like they were curious. Some seemed scared and they ran away from me. And some tried to peck at me. And some tried to protect their eggs. And some didn't care if their eggs were being taken. And I just realized, wow, it's not chicken. They're chickens with personalities. And it was just like light bulb time. And that's what threw me over. And I have not eaten meat since then. And I don't know when it was exactly, several years ago, that I drastically cut down on other animal products. And so I'm veganish, so it's not down to zero in my diet, but probably just a couple of percent. So on a typical day, I'm totally plant-based. But my philosophy is vegan. I believe in doing, on the one hand, the most good in the world, and also reducing the most suffering. So even with flies or creepy crawlers in my home, I never purposely kill anything. I try to set them free in the best way possible. So that's where I'm at.
Okay, very cool. Now tell me, I know that you wrote a book about eco-eating, although you might have changed that wording. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I've been, like a lot of things I do, been working on that for a long time, building a website, trying to get translations, which I have. So I added more, I edited it, I made it more, I hope, reader friendly, got some really impressive endorsement quotes, and it's now published as Eating the Earth. And I self-published that on Smashwords, so it's free because I don't want to charge anyone for this. I want it to be free and completely accessible information to anyone who might want it. So it's Eating the Earth in English, but there's versions in Spanish, Italian, Chinese, Korean, and Thai. And the Mongolian version is about 70% done, I'm told. I think there's a Burmese version, and the Hebrew version I thought was coming along, and I think the guy may have flaked out. But anyway, there'll be more and more versions to meet the needs of more and more people. And like I say, all free and all, I think, high quality, factual, accurate information.
And what
That I
does
think is fascinating. Roughly speaking, it's about, the dangers of meat and other animal products. And by dangers, I mean to health and to the environment and even to one's spirit and to workers and to the animals themselves, of course, and the benefits of a plant-based diet, also for all those reasons and more.
And
so that's eating the earth.
So then the book has sections on different topics like animal agriculture.
Correct. There's about 30 sections.
Okay.
Yeah, and some just a short paragraph, and others a longer stretch. But not too long. The idea is that this is an appetizer plate, and so there's little sections where people can dip in and dip out and just taste things. And if they want more, just like when you taste an appetizer, you can go investigate more. We know that there's a whole world of information out there and people to talk to. And so this is just to expose people, if you will. But even so, even in the short sections, I try to give some depth and information. So it's great for beginners, to be sure. But a lot of people who have been in this movement and even who have written their own articles and books have read this and found it useful. And I like being able to do that, make a book that's good for beginners and good for intermediate and good for people who are advanced in the movement.
Yeah, and I quickly glanced over some of the chapters that you have, and it looks like you have covered most, if not all, the bases on this topic.
Well, never all. There's always more to cover, and we should be humble about that. But I tried to cover at least the major ones, the things that come up, So including economics and water and protein and B12 and strength and, and ethics and compassion and on with that kind of stuff. And even different terms, even just defining vegetarian, vegan, flexitarian, and pescatarian, just so, because a lot of people use the words, a lot of people don't know the words, or they get mixed up. Not people like us, perhaps, but other people.
I can see that. I've sat at a table where somebody says that they're vegan, and then they said, "Oh, and I had fish too." They get into a conversation, and I had fish 2 weeks ago.
Right.
That's not vegan.
Right. So that's why I figure I'm a fan of actually being clear and being explicit, and so I try to do that in there as well.
Well,
with 30 topics, probably any given person, even if they know some of them, don't know all of them, or maybe just get a new perspective or see a new quote. Because I include a lot of quotes. Because I'm not about reinventing the wheel, and it's not about ego. It's just about presenting information and getting it out there so people can have it.
And that's one of the things that I love about individuals as yourself who put out information out there just because we're trying to have people learn more and be more informed so that they could make better choices.
Definitely. And I try to do that in different ways. So I wrote an article directed at teenagers, should teens delete meat? I wrote a cute little piece called The Dinosaur Diet, because most dinosaurs were herbivores, to get people who love dinosaurs, including kids, more involved. I wrote an op-ed for The Progressive called The Problem with Meat. That was their title, because it's meat and animal products, which I say on the inside. So, we have to reach people in different ways, and in the ways that make sense to them, actually, not in the ways that make sense to us.
And that is a key point right there, that when we are reaching out and talking to individuals, we have to try to figure out where they're at, whether they'd go vegan for the environment, for their health, for the animals, because everybody has a different perspective of why they go vegan.
And it means respectfully listening to people and not just dictating or shouting. Even if it's a good thing you're shouting, like go vegan, because most people weren't born vegetarians and vegans. So that means they changed at some time. And no one changed because they were shouted at. No one changed because someone else said to them, even go vegan. It's, because they were inspired in one way or another, perhaps from, reading a book like, Animal Liberation in 1975, or watching, Forks Over Knives or Earthlings or something like that, or because they meet someone, and whether it's their biology teacher or their friend or someone else, and they say, oh, a person is kind and they're explaining things and they have good reasons. Let me try that out.
Right. I totally agree. I want to thank you so very much, Dan, for being with us today.
Thank you, Nancy, for doing this and all your other interviews. It's great work that you do.
Thank you. And I will have information on the webpage about your book, how to get it, and any other information that you might want to share. Thank you.
Fantastic. Bye. My pleasure. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us in another episode of the Vegan Pulse. I am your host, Nancy Arenas. Remember to like us on Facebook, check out our blog, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you have a pulse, you have a purpose. Live vegan.